Well, good morning and welcome back to the West County Hotel here in Ennis, County Clare. And we are continuing with our coverage of the World Masters. So from the ladies section. And a fascinating lineup here. Tasneem Solomons, the world champion. She's taking on England's Savannah Lowe. So a big break off there from the South African. Savannah coming through last night, 5-1 against 𝗨𝗏. Tasneem a trickier tie. She was 3-2 down against Ramona Belmont last night and came through 5-3 to join Savannah. These are still a race to 5. It's a very open split for Tasneem. I can tell you one match is already finished. They did start these matches at 10:30 this morning in the other women's games. This one obviously held back because we've shown it live. And Chucky Preston has already beaten Jackie 𝗨𝗪𝗏 by 5-0. We know Chucky's a quick player, but that is quick. So all about position from this red into the centre. Trying to get the ball round the back for the red into the same pocket possibly. Nice positional shot there from Tasneem. So this 8-ball, and in it goes. Break and finish from Tasneem Solomons.
Dec Brennan and 𝗘𝗃𝗵𝗆, nothing between those two. They're 3 each. Ryan Pisani 5-2 up against Englishman Rob Charman. Thomas Whelan from Ireland beaten Kevin Lefrancois 4-1. Jakub Sheikh, having beaten Tom Cousins yesterday, is 5-0 down to Sean Story. An interesting scoreline developing here as well.
Okay.
Rich Gifford 4 each against Stevie Dempsey. I mean, Rich Gifford holding his own against the Hammer. I saw the Hammer play yesterday and he was on some serious form. He's playing very well, so Rich Gifford doing well there. Gary Bracken, another tough player, beat Lee Kendall yesterday. He's 4-1 up against Adam Lilly now. Gary Southern, the big Scotsman, 3-1 up against James Nesbitt.
Meanwhile, Savannah Lowe with a big shot now. to this centre. It was very tricky. Tried to make the plant. Good news though for Savannah, she still blocks that left-hand centre pocket.
So obviously just a reminder that this is the last 32 of the Masters.
Well, Tasneem's covered that pocket. I think Savannah might be looking to play the loss of turn, maybe cut that red just above the bolt line there, over to knock that yellow in and bring the cue ball down the bottom of the table. Trying to play off it. Not bad, does leave her that long one down into the corner. Had to play that then though, Savannah. Couldn't sit there and wait while Tasneem developed her yellows. So Savannah Lowe forcing Solomons to attack.
So a quick look at the state of the ladies' game in the last 32. Chucky Preston, I saw her walking out of the arena just a while ago. She's already beaten Jacqueline Louth 5 frames to 0. And 𝗪𝗁 Amsterdam as well, through against Margaret O'Driscoll. Margaret having beaten Marion Jude yesterday.
Yeah, incredible stuff there. So, good chance now for Savannah Lowe. She can cut that red into the centre. Q then just bumps into the yellow next to the other red by the middle pocket. Might choose to come down on the red at the bottom first, but I think I'd leave that one a bit later. I think this is the correct play.
There's another shock developing. Ashley Allen 4-0 up against Emma Cunningham. Savannah needs to get into this match early, doesn't she? She can't let Tasneem get away from her.
Yeah, I think she's got a good head on her shoulders, Savannah. Joined me in the commentary box last night. It was interesting to talk to her. And I had a little chat with her there just before she went out into the arena. She's excited about playing it. I'm slightly nervous, but confident as well. And she just wants to, she's just going to play her own game. She knows she's up against the world champion.
Yeah, she's still a very, very young player, isn't she?
Yeah, but she's got to also remember what got her here.
Yeah.
She's got herself into the England side. No one's done it for her. She's done it herself. But I think she's got a good knowledge of the game, and she's not going to be rushed and do anything silly like, you know, some of the players will let the occasion get to them and play shots they wouldn't normally play. She's played in the arena plenty now as well, obviously for England, and she's been on the TV before, and the British Open. I think we saw a couple of matches of hers. And it is noticeable, and Savannah said it last night, that this table in the arena seems to play a great deal quicker than the other tables on the outside. That's a decent shot there. She can get through the gap of those two yellows to that red. So this is the big test pot for Savannah Lowe.
Yeah, key to the frame here, and if she gets this one, any kind of nerves that she has in her back arm, this will settle her down. Lee Davis, who was the pick for Ashley Dinsmore, she was 4-0 up against South Africa's Michelle Rabe. She's now 4-2, being pegged back. Still favourite to go through, though. She's not going to want to leave the ball closest to the left side rail to get down table. She needs to get across for it now. That can't be a transition ball to get onto the last yellow. And that looks fine. She can play the plant now. That's worked out in her favour, Tony.
I was going to say that's quite fortunate. You wouldn't be playing to bump that over the bag.
If that yellow drops in, she's in a little spot of bother. I mean, she's got a big angle on this yellow. She could have got the cue ball down table, but it would have been a much tougher shot. Tiny bit straight. She's just got a bit of angle to play with.
You screwed that with right-hand side into the top rail. It comes off the right-hand cushion and spins down the table. The other way you could play it, you could actually go cushion first, which is what she's looking at now, into the yellow, and then slide down the left-hand side of the table. I think that's dangerous.
I do too.
Because you can't get behind the reds that way. But we do know Tasneem Solomons is a risk taker.
She's loading up. Well, she's going to struggle to get close to the 8-ball from here. It's not... I mean, it's comfortable enough, this pot.
Well, if you just play the plain ball cut, you should really go to the top rail and back down again. So
yeah,
you could pretty much land the cue ball where it is now. That's overcut. Oh, just crept in.
She's left a tester for herself here.
I thought that was going to hang. When Tasneem won the world title last year, this is the foundation that built that win, was her long potting. It was tremendous.
Fabulous.
In it goes.
That back elbow, I mean, she's just got all the fundamentals there, hasn't she? She's got a great stance. The back elbow is just arrow straight as it comes through. Dec Brennan's edged ahead of Cole Bedford 4-3. Rich Gifford now ahead of Stevie Dempsey 5-4. A great showing from the Welshman.
Well, Tasneem Solomons goes dry with the break, so Savannah Lowe gets her pick. Reds or yellows, not an easy starting ball though for Savannah. Could play the yellow at the top, but not sure what the... I was going to say she might just play safe because neither look that great.
Two other players have booked their place into the last 16 alongside Kyle O'Donoghue. That's Giuseppe D'Imperio, 7-1 over Andy Williams. Gary Bracken, a similar scoreline over Adam Lilly. Cross on the other table, table 2. Ashley Dinsmore is in action against Lisa Dart. Ashley was in fine form when she opened the show with me this morning. She's 2-0 up against Lisa. to yellow.
Yeah, she's had to play the waiting game here because of the split. Still a bit of mileage in this frame, I'd say. Awkward yellow at the top left, tucked behind a red. Also, there's another one that's fairly tricky behind the red near the right-hand centre as well. And that's not what she wanted. So ball in hand for Tasneem Solomons. And the reds are just as tricky, really, as the yellows. So, again, it'll be a big finish to get out from here. So, Tasneem now using her extension. Both players have used it now for this frame.
Leanne Cragg through to the last 16. 5-2 against Tatum Manning. Colette Henriksen 5-1 over Tara Jackson. Barbara Taylor also through. Sabria Brunet against Jacqueline Breen. She's through 5-1. The last 16 starting to take shape. Lyndall Vine, who's having a great week, almost produced the shock of the week when she took Rona McCarthy all the way in the over 15s. She's 3-1 up against Kirsty Shepherd.
Yeah, not a whole lot else to do there for Savannah. It was pointless potting any more yellows because she knew she couldn't get out from there. So, wise decision. Pull back the reins, hand the table over, and wait for a better opportunity. She might get that yellow out a bit further into the middle of the table. That's on the right hand side there, that's next to the red. In fact, if she could clip off it, mind you, that I was about to say move the other yellow as well at the top on the right, but that's okay actually. It goes in the middle, so just bump this out into the middle of the table. She wants to go past the 8-ball. Yeah, that's a decent shot. Tasneem will probably now just tap this red at the bottom. But then it'll be an easy escape just to go one cushion and back into the yellow ball she's just hit if she does snooker her.
Looking at moving this red on the... I don't think she can pot it, but she can definitely push it towards the pocket.
Yeah, always the aggressor. Yeah, she did.
Didn't think the angle was quite there.
Yeah, I think she's had enough of tapping the balls about at the moment. It's one of those frames that you can't do anything else, really.
Yeah, maybe an idea here for Savannah to keep slowing things down if she sees that Tasneem's getting a little bit frustrated.
What I like is that she hasn't panicked at 2-0 down. She's not just started throwing her arm at the balls because, she's had one opportunity. Not an easy one. It was a tricky red she missed. But
I'd be tempted to take it into the trenches here.
Well, she played a loss of turn. I think she was trying to play that, push the other yellow up, but that stayed there. And this is half a chance now for Tasneem.
Yeah, she opened up a couple of problem balls there.
Yeah, it's one of them. You've got to try and develop yours and keep your opponent's balls tied up. And she's trying to give herself a decent opportunity, but has given Tasneem a chance. Okay, she's put that red behind the yellow, but does she have the angle off this red to kick it back out again?
I think she's just the wrong side of it. She might pop it through off 2 cushions, but I'm not quite sure that shot's there either. Shane Thompson, the former Ultimate Pool #1, he's out of the men's world singles. He's just about to go out of the Masters as well. He's 6-1 down against Gary Clark.
Well, all she has here is long red into the bottom corner. I don't think she can see the thin edge of the one to the left of that. If she can, you want to play that into the middle. Cracking pot.
What a cue ball as well. Brilliant pot from Solomons. It's opened up the frame for her.
Yeah.
The way she controlled the cue ball through that gap, it wasn't just the pot.
Yeah, that was real high quality shot from Tasneem Solomons. Still a bit of work to do for the South African. Ooh. And that one was a fair distance away. So Savannah Lowe will get another visit at the table. Just wondered if Tasneem was trying to do too much with that cue ball there. I don't know if she's left full view of the yellow at the top for Savannah, that she can pot it into the top left. She must have done. I don't think Savannah would. She's having a look. Tight. Still not easy for Savannah Lowe. She's going to try and play this delicate yellow into the middle bag. Not to be. Not pleasant shots when you have to play the cue ball slowly. I used to hate them.
Yeah, you were more of a puncher of the ball, weren't you?
Yeah, nothing soft was no good to me. Just my arm, just the way I cued is not for me.
Like to get through the ball.
I never trusted the even though the tables is true, I just didn't trust them. And I'll tell you what, Tasneem Solomons didn't trust that red. So more of an open chance now for Savannah.
You used to play on the old carpet, so technically
you had to hump the cue ball about the place. Yeah.
So when you played a slow shot, there was a lot of nap on there to move the cue ball.
Yeah, you can see the way Savannah hits the ball. She's more comfortable hitting the ball harder than the old little rolls. It's just, my arm would wobble a bit just because it's just unnatural to hit the ball very slowly. Just a little bit straight this for Savannah with the yellow into the top left. She would have just liked that cue ball to come another roll just to leave a slight angle so she could pull out to be straighter on this yellow that's nearest to black. So she's going to have to just drop this in. Unless she thinks she can borrow a tiny bit of pocket. Nope. So, big shot here for Savannah Lowe. Yellow ball, bottom left-hand corner. The cue ball also should, to get on the 8-ball. If she can get that cue ball just to run, maybe slide off the bottom of that red and into the 8-ball, sort of just push it so it would be set up into the bottom left.
Can she just drop this and roll through the gap for the 8 in the middle?
No, I don't. Well,
that angle not there.
I don't. Oh, it might do.
Makes the pot a little bit easier, doesn't it? She punched it.
Yeah, she was worried about getting on the black, and unfortunately for Savannah, she's missed the pot. Not only that, she's left it pretty easy now for Tasneem Solomons.
Remember, after this match, David Hogan versus Carl Sutton. Carl Sutton, 2024 world finalist.
So, simple 8-ball into the middle pocket for Tasneem Solomons. This for 3-0. In it goes, and it is a South African who surges further ahead. So, plenty of pool plays in that household.
Yeah, well,
you could have a whole tournament.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think carries with Sean Sharkey.
Correct. I believe so. Anyway, Savannah Lowe going to have to make some headway now. Has had a couple of chances. Got great cue action, Savannah. She keeps very still. She strikes a ball.
I'll tell you someone else who's having a really good week so far and who's playing out of their skin. It's Mike King. He's 5-3 up against 𝗪𝗓𝗄𝗃.
Nice pot there from Savannah Lowe. Starting to get a bit trickier now, these reds. She just felt slightly out of position there. One thing though is Tasneem's 2 yellows are both blocked on the bottom left hand side of the table, so she's not under monster pressure to set, you know, if you miss, you lose the frame sort of position. Gone for the double back in the centre, and that's a great shot. What a shot there from Savannah Lowe.
Yeah, awesome double. And
I don't blame her taking it on because, you know, like I said, the two yellows are behind her red at the bottom. So did not want to be leaving that. If she'd have played this ball before, she'd have had to play that one length of the table and screw the cue ball back, which she made a good decision. Can she complete the finish here?
She was eyeing up this ball to bottom left next. Just needs to be careful here. I don't think she can get on and off the cushion and miss those yellows.
No, you can't.
She's going to cannon them, so she just needs to focus on that shot. I'd be half tempted to leave it as the last ball. Oh, where's that yellow going? It's just okay.
The problem here, right, so it's getting on the 8-ball. I think if she plays the red just normal, middle of the cue ball, the cue ball that will obviously hit the red first, but then it floats into the yellow, and hopefully for Savannah's sake it pushes forward and then off that side cushion and onto the 8.
Nice.
And you have to say, as Tasneem there just tapping her cue in appreciation of the shot she's just played, you've got to say, and a round of applause as well, and I'll tell you what, that is thoroughly deserved, because that was a great finish. So, Tasneem Solomons to break off frame number 5. Cue ball, oof, very close to going in off in the middle, but she does make a couple of balls as well. And just looking at the split, well, I'd say yellows purely because of the red on the top left-hand side of the table. Also would be choosing the reds, but you don't have to move anything with yellows. You've got an easy starting ball, which will start with the one which would be below and to the right of the black. Well, she's going to go reds. Feels that she can get on that bad ball first. Well, didn't mean to clip that yellow, so a loose cue ball, but it hasn't landed badly for Tasneem.
She's quite thin on this, though. Not going to be able to control the cue ball particularly well.
Don't think she's worried about that bit. And that was a fair way out. So Savannah Lowe comes to the table on yellows. The only good thing for Tasneem is that the red she missed has come across and blocked off the yellow that belongs to Savannah up at the top of the table. I don't think she can dig deep enough with this yellow that she's closest to here to send a cue ball up there and bump it up. Might be able to be fair, if she can play the cut with the yellow that she's nearest to, send a cue ball into the side rail at the top on the right, she might be able to hit into the red and get the red out of the way of that yellow and then be able to go game. So you sort of dig down and play it just below centre of the cue ball. So you sort of just pop it so it doesn't clip the red and the black. Straight past that, into that side rail, bump the red and yellow apart up at the top. She's going to have to get a move on. Yeah, ended up a bit rushed there with the clock.
Tucking behind the yellow, surely. Just nudge into the one that's...
Well, as long as it's not touching that rail, which I don't think it is, you can just double kiss the cue ball so it pushes it back into the other one.
And that may force Solomons into moving the ball at the... She would probably leave an edge at the one on the top cushion.
I don't mind... Whoa. I thought she was going to play the other yellow there. I do mind that one. I thought she was going to play the other yellow down the rail, because that wouldn't have left Tasneem much either.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, it was Tasneem that ended up rushed. Savannah can clearly see that yellow on the left. Eightball's tied up a bit, though.
Some results from the men's section. Declan Brennan's beaten 𝗘𝗃𝗵𝗵 7-5. 𝗘𝘃𝗲 is end of the line for him. Ryan Pisani beat Rob Sharman, same scoreline, 7-5. Sean Story beat 𝗏𝗏 7-1. Rich Gifford and Stevie Dempsey 6 each. We kind of knew that was going to happen. They've been close to each other all the way. Gary Southern 7-2 winner against James Nesbitt. 𝗨𝗽𝗱𝗪𝗔𝗍𝗍 4-1 up against Johanna Tad.
Well, how attacking was that shot? Played a plant there into the bottom corner. Tasneem just waiting there because obviously there's a player on the other table that's obviously going to be in close proximity. But played that plant and then got onto the awkward red that's next to the black ball. And if she has the angle to get up the table as well, I thought she was going to be playing safe, but Tasneem ever attacking. She'll just want to get the cue ball now right on the bolt line. That would be a nice spot to beat.
Yeah, there's not a huge margin of error here because that red is fairly tight to the cushion, so she needs to get as far up the table as she can without hiding herself behind that yellow. There's probably a window of about 6 to 8 inches to play into. That doesn't... Well, I mean, it's still cuttable. It's not as comfortable as it could have been.
Bolt line was perfect.
Yeah.
So she still has a shot. You'd have rather cut at least a couple more ball rolls up, but
not guaranteed to be nicely on the 8 here. Could easily run past. And does. She did exactly the same as she did earlier on, where she just caught the ball too thin.
Fortunate there not to going off.
She is straight down on it to see what she likes the look of. I mean, she's got top right.
Yeah, but I don't like the cue ball because it's cushed up. It's going straight towards that middle bag on the left.
Or a very, very thin cut into middle.
I think you go thin cut. This is a massive shot.
No.
Overcuts it. Savannah Lowe very quickly out of her chair. Might just opt to play the snooker with the first shot.
Yeah, she didn't do it earlier on, which
I'll tell you why, because she's just missed the ball not very long ago into that middle with the same slow shot.
I agree, I'd be playing the snooker here for sure. But she turned it down earlier when she had a fairly simple chance of a snooker, which makes me think she may do the same here.
She's just clipping off this yellow.
Yeah, I don't know why. Behind. Maybe that yellow is actually glued to the rail.
Played it well.
That's all I can think. Yeah, she did play a good shot.
Even if it's glued to the rail, you still come off it half ball. The cue ball's still going to touch the cushion. But I don't blame you for refusing that one in the middle, because if you've missed one very similar before, it's still there in your memory banks.
The only thing that I like about just clipping off the ball that's on the rail, if she just brings it out 1/4 of an inch, she's got a really easy plant. Whereas it's glued to the rail at the moment, it's not quite such an easy plant.
That's a really good hit.
Oh, look at the distance on the cue.
Yeah, but
well.
thankfully for Savannah, the 8-ball's in a dodgy spot. That won't double either.
Now we come back to the shot that I mentioned a second ago. If that yellow that's on the cushion is 1/4 of an inch out, she's got a drop-in plant that she cannot miss.
No,
this is very missable.
I don't think it. I really would not be too worried about missing it, because that black ball, the only way you're potting out is to come off the side rail and kick it back in the middle. You know, this is very low percentage, because to get it to go into the middle, you've got to nearly miss that black coming back, so you can't. It's not the natural hit it full in the face. If you hit it full in the face, the black will go into the middle of this left-hand rail. So you've got to get very close to the yellow to make this pot. Don't get me wrong, it's obviously makeable.
She could come high on the 8 and try and pot it bottom left. Well, it's gone safe again. Lowe now's got a massive
not
insurance
safe,
policy.
Nick.
Yeah?
That's not safe.
No, but I mean,
it's not over the bag, you mean?
Yeah, it's. I mean, she can play this next shot. She can play the one up the right side cushion if she wants to, and she's leaving absolutely nothing, because both top pockets are covered. She leaves no double whatsoever. I'd be taking the one up the right side cushion personally, but
I just think no. I think it's go game. You play this one along the top rail now. Then I play the one in the centre. You want to leave either the yellow that's over the left-hand bag or the yellow that's nearest the bolt line. One of those two balls has to be the last ball to get onto the 8. Can't leave it with the one in the centre, because, well, for one, you've got to get the correct angle, and two, you'd have to play it quite firmly in to the middle.
yeah, she's going to take the middle now.
Take it in the middle and screw the cue ball across now, and then play the one at the bolt line, and then leave an angle on the one that's nearest the bag, just to pot it and run the cue ball straight down the table for the 8. So she wants to pot the one in the middle, screw back a bit here. So bring the cue ball nearly into the middle of the table. That's perfect. Now then, Savannah, what she wants to do, sort of bring the cue ball back to the bolt line. There you are. She's looking at her angle now. That gives us a natural way to play that last yellow without having to put anything on the cue ball, just to bring the cue ball down for the black ball. Perfect. So this shot is all about the weight. The only thing she's got to be careful of is, because on these new cloths and the cushions, when the cue ball comes off that top rail, is sailing close to the bottom left-hand corner. And she's played that very, very well indeed. Well, if you had to pick up the ball with your hand, you pretty much put it there, wouldn't you, for the 8? So this, to bring it back to 3-2 for Savannah Lowe. Very well done indeed. And the young girl from England, right back in this match with the world champion.
Colette Henriksen against Ashley Allen. Ashley Dinsmore against Chucky Preston. Another teammate v teammate. And Sabria Brunet versus Megan Randall. The other 4 matches still just waiting on results.
So Savannah Lowe breaks frame 6, pots the ball. A little bit of a cluster on the left-hand side, which will feature in this frame.
Interestingly, the winner of this game will play Barbara Taylor. So if it's Savannah Lowe, she'll be playing against the captain.
And she's already got the player in the World Championships as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be the second time she'll be playing if she won. I did say to Savannah last night, I said, if you've got to play in the World Championships, you have to let Barbara win so you keep your place in the England team. Obviously, that's not the case, but Barbara, obviously, a great captain gets on very well with all her team, and they all have so much respect for her. Quite a lot of topspin on that.
I've heard she rules with an iron fist.
Barbara, never. However, don't be fooled by her, well, I won't say gentle demeanour, but if she wants to be, she can be firm when required. But no, she's great, Barbara. Great friend for many, many years. I know she doesn't like you.
Shane Thompson's out, beaten by Gary Clark.
Not a good week for Shane.
No. Bocciani now 6-1 up against Attard. Rafik Harmouche has pulled back to level against Mike King, 5 each. Across on table 2, you can just see the players coming in. That is David Hogan against Carl Sutton. I have to admit, I thought that was the game that was going to be on this table. We've got easy for me to say, Usama Al-Maskini, the small tiger, against Sean Sharkey.
The Skinner. That's on the back of his shirt. He's on the Irish team. He's called himself the Skinner. I know he's called Sharks on his nickname, but maybe he's got like 4 or 5 different nicknames now. Sean Sharkey, of course, the skipper of the Irish team. So this now is a real match. It could have been very easy for Savannah Lowe to fold and go away quietly at 3-0 down, and she's done just the opposite. She's risen to the occasion. Yeah, she wants to leave that red a little bit nearer, obviously a lot nearer than that to that left-hand corner. So this is an opening now for for Tasneem Solomons.
Really interesting interviewing her the other day. After her win in the singles, I asked her, what was it like going back to South Africa as world champion? She said it was incredible. She said they made a documentary about her. Everyone, wanted their photograph taken with her. She absolutely had such an amazing time over the last year. And I asked Barbara Taylor on day one, how important was it to have a French and then a South African winner over the last couple of years, because it's been won by the home nation so many times and over so many years. To get these different nations, and that's just proven in the story by Solomons.
It shows how pool has grown across the globe.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember playing against South Africa in the 90s, and their team, they always had like 3 or 4 very good players, and then it was a little bit, you go down the pecking order a bit, and you could find a few vulnerable players because they weren't used to playing on the big stage. But as it's grown and grown and grown, in South Africa, France years ago, when they first arrived, they were okay, average. Now they're a force, a global force at pool, as you see. Marion Jude, you've got Sabria Brunet. I can go back through some of the players that played, 𝗪𝗏 Suberville. He's here in the seniors, great player.
Yannick Beaufils.
Oh, loads of them. Christophe Lambert.
Yeah, of course.
How can you forget him? He just won the Masters.
Yeah.
and Marion Jude won the Ladies Masters on the same weekend. But
it's, I mean, you know, we talk about the names that have been around for a while, but there's so many youngsters coming through.
The Morocco team in the last couple of years has emerged.
Yeah.
It really is fantastic to see. And it makes it so much more fun for us that we've got all these nations now that all compete on an even playing field, you know. But Tasneem, she was brilliant last year. Some of her potting and finishing, and you know, she's knocking out world champion after world champion as well en route. And you think, well, surely she can't keep producing that sort of form, and she did, match after match after match. And then we talk her all up. She misses that yellow, unbelievably. So Savannah Lowe will get another chance in frame 6.
Yeah, I mean, it says something when you feel the nations that are represented when you get to this stage of the competition. We've got India with Krish Patel. We've got Chris Safarezi, 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗏 for Morocco. Maschini, of course. And Ryan Pisani for Malta.
Now they're a nation there that Paul plays Malta, but they've been playing for years. Before they joined all the other teams, they had a lot of good players. You know, going back to the very starts of the 8-ball game when Maltese Joe Barbara played.
Great to see South Africa still represented as well in the last 16 in Bochene.
Well, it's what you call a happy landing. For me, I think Savannah's going to have to try and take on that pot into the top right-hand corner and then play the red ball down the cushion towards where that yellow is, which she's looking at now. Don't think there's any other option, really. Because she could play that. If she does, I mean, I'm giving her this pot, by the way. If she knocks this in, the option is there to play that down there off that yellow and send that yellow into those two reds and open them up. Great pot. Perfect. And the good thing about that is because she's slightly nearer the cushion, she's got a clear line of sight to see that yellow in front of her when she gets down on the cue. You could basically arrow that red into the yellow. If she is thin enough, the yellow, what she's looking at now, comes off that cushion and kicks those two reds apart. Just hit it a bit thick. Seemed to hit that one very quickly. Her normal approach is always it's sort of the same pace between shot selection and shot execution. That just seemed, the selection was at the right pace, but the execution seemed to be a bit quicker than normal.
She double kissed the yellow into the perfect spot here for Solomons. Ooh, didn't expect to see that miss, and those two yellows coming together.
Are these pockets tightening up a tad?
Well, maybe. Yeah, I mean, we said that on day one, that there are a couple of shots going in that wouldn't be going in on day 6 or day 7. Here we are.
Yeah. The good news there for Savannah Lowe, even though she's not been left an easy shot, is those two yellows don't plant. However, I was just looking at them, and I wonder if the one on the right will go off Savannah's red and into the bottom left, but I'm now talking about a shot that might not even happen. So well, now we can talk about that shot, because looking at those two yellows, they obviously do not plant at all.
I don't think the first yellow goes past the second one. I know the shot you're talking about, but I think
it's got to go half
the
ball.
second one's in the way.
No, it goes half ball into the red. Might not go over to the pocket, but it'll go towards. I'm just trying to think of any sort of shot for Tasneem. She might just choose to clip off the outside yellow and put the cue ball near the 8-ball. I'll tell you what. How about hitting the two reds, stopping the cue ball right, nearly touching second red, and leaving Tasneem glued to it while the other red hits the rail and comes down to the middle of the table. sort of like a punch stop shot. Tricky, because you can easily screw that back and then leave her on the yellow in the middle, but is it worth the risk? Plant double into the middle, but then you've got to play position for your next ball. She's looking at the plant double, you know. Mega attacking. She's going with it now. Well, she went for it. Is she going to get a second prize? She is.
She's definitely rushing the shot to Tony. I mean, she's just got straight down and hit. I mean, I know the beats were going, but, you know, she had a couple of seconds left.
Yeah, but she's like, this is a very, very edgy part of the match now for both players. You know, 3-2. It's such a huge thread because this at the moment is anybody's. They both desperately want to win it. Tasneem just to get some more clear water and daylight out of the way of Savannah Lowe. Savannah Lowe's desperate to win it to get herself level in the match. So we're in a bit of a dramatic stage here. Loss of turn, or is she? Oh, wow! What a fluke!
That's a huge moment. That
is unbelievable. Wow!
Oh, that's heartbreak.
Well, as well, just where the balls have been left. I mean, that's the biggest one we've seen this week out of any matches. I'll tell a lie. Black was fluked against Robert Brady on an outside table. It was the worst one I've seen. That's up there though in second place. She landed close to that red. If she can get past, she can only just. Oh,
she can't.
She can't. She snookered herself.
You've got to say that's kind of deserved as well after that fluke.
What on earth's going on? She's having to bend round. And that's going to be ball in hand. She's not hit a rail after contact. Referee Mark Goff hands Savannah Lowe the cue ball. Well, well, well. What twists and turns we've had in this frame. So, one more red and the 8-ball for Savannah Lowe to pull this match back to 3 each. What's she done with the cue ball?
No.
Oh my word. I think, I don't remember ever seeing a frame like this before.
That's utter madness.
Oh dear.
Solomons will breathe a massive sigh of relief.
So Solomons breaking off frame 7. She's one away from getting through to the next round. And it's, if she does get through, she's dodged a few bullets here.
What a monster break that was. Huge. It's not an ABC clearance though. So much traffic. First instinct you look at yellows, but those two yellows at the top of the table don't really link up to the bottom of the table. All the reds in a line all go to the right centre, but then you've got this one odd ball down to bottom left. This definitely isn't straightforward. Reds it is. First shot key here. Needs to navigate the gap of the yellows. She does. She gets a favourable little kiss. She can just dab this one to middle and stun up. She's got the one above it into the same pocket. As I say, all of these balls go to right centre. She may elect to come up and kiss the other red. up table. I'm surprised she didn't. As I say, it is onto middle, but she could have just come up a full ball contact on that ball just to push it further up into the bulk area. Needs to find a shot here. Yeah, that's good. As I say, you could see every single one of these balls going to middle. Oh, she's underhit that. The saving grace is that she can cannon into the 8-ball and push the red towards the bottom right pocket, but she underhit that by a good 6 inches.
Indeed. Just a quick good morning to Stuart Walden, who's watching. Just message to say he's having his bacon sandwich watching this. Gutted he didn't make it into the England over 50s because he was very close down there in Bideford in Devon, as Tasneem puts herself right behind the yellow. So she's going to have to produce some magic here, or Savannah Lowe is going to get to the table on those yellows. And she's going to get to the table on those yellows with ball in hand. So what's Savannah's reaction going to be? Last time we saw it, she went in off her last ball to get onto the black, which I'm sure she would have been absolutely devastated to do. And she's had quite a while to sit there and think about it. But now, and this is easier said than done, you have to erase that from the memory banks. Focus on these yellows. We've seen some great comebacks this week. 𝗍𝗍𝗃 was 4-1 up against, I think it was Tatum Manning, and Tatum came back and won that match. That's too hard by Savannah. Tasneem has full view of this red, although a very tough shot, but one she should not have been allowed to be taking. That's monstrous.
Oh, that's not bad. That could have come out a lot worse.
That's fine. I think she hasn't got to do much with the cue ball. Slight, I'm not, just looking at the angle, maybe it's slightly dangerous for the in-off, but I don't think she get the cue ball that far over. And that is the match. Tasneem Solomons beats Savannah Lowe by 5 frames to 2. A couple of loose shots there at the end by Savannah. She'll be very disappointed, but she did play so well in the middle of that match.